Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is Akil Aline of the class of 2008, Princeton's great 2008. Here for Prospect11.com. I actually just wanted to kick off my involvement with the site by sharing with you all actually a little video vignette that I made about 1.5 years ago, responding to a book some of you may have heard of already, titled The Night Before the Morning After, written by Princeton graduate, now graduate Scott Newman, where he basically trashed his Princeton experience. Figured I would reach out at the time to certain acquaintances of mine, fellow Princeton graduates, to get their take on what their Princeton experiences were like and whether this kid's Princeton experience matched theirs to any degree. I figured I would use that to create a little response video to his book. So check it out without further ado, and it'll be interesting to see if this starts a conversation on that subject. What do I stumble upon when I open up Google on my phone? Then this article in the New York Post talking about this book that a Princeton senior, current senior at Princeton, apparently just got published. It's titled The Night Before the Morning After. He gave preppy Princeton University the finger and fled as far away from New Jersey as he could just 1 year before graduation. The class of 2021 history major, who is finishing his degree remotely, is now living nearly 10,000 miles off campus in sunny Sydney, Australia, and he hopes never to darken Tiger territory again. I'm grateful that I got such a great education, but I regret going to Princeton. I wouldn't send my kids there, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else. You poor thing. I have a few reactions to this whole little screed he's written. First of all, while it's true that there are a lot of people at Princeton who are the way that he describes the school and its students, there were a lot who weren't, at least in my experience. I knew a guy who dropped out of Princeton halfway through to go and live with the Zapatistas down in Mexico, Oaxaca, Mexico, because he felt he wasn't getting much out of the experience of being at Princeton. I know students who are big into activism, those who went into academia who are very big into social justice causes. It's not as if every student who went there ended up going into the whole iBanker, management consulting, big tech track. Was there social climbing at Princeton? You bet your ass there was. We have these eating clubs. That was the heart of the campus social scene. We would just go out and party and guzzle beers and sometimes liquor, and obviously a lot of schmoozing went on alongside the boozing. You go to an elite school like Princeton, of course a lot of that is going to happen. There were a lot of tools there, you know, a lot of douchebags and jerks and people who thought they were better than you because they had a more prestigious job with a more prestigious company.
I really have learned, partially in retrospect and partially at the time, how to deal with people who don't want to give me the time of day. I learned how to deal with people who aren't respectful. I learned how to deal with people who are disrespectful without realizing they're disrespectful, because that's even more important. People who are openly hateful, that's just life. But people who are hateful without realizing as such, implicitly, that is something that I learned here, but it took me several years afterwards and a lot of work and studies to do so, to recognize it.
I found that when we were undergrads, students would joke, let's say a brunch on Saturday. Oh, what are you doing now after brunch? Oh, nothing, I'm not doing anything. And of course, everyone was going to Firestone to study. You were gonna work hard before you went and played hard, right? At the end of the, Saturday night.
There were also a lot of other really cool people who were doing interesting things, who came from interesting backgrounds.
I was already a bit more like, there's something wrong with this world. Like, we're not doing enough social awareness, caring for the earth, caring for each other. I took a lot of that in with me to my Princeton experience. Did some Citibank protest work where we were going against Citibank for having investment in a lot of fossil fuels, and so this outside group came and I joined up with them and I got active and involved in that, and I was in the dining hall. And so I was around people at Princeton who were not the privileged people, and because I found those people to be the ones that were most exciting to me.
I found students to be spirited and engaged citizens of the world here. I'm very proud of my undergrads and grad students who have taken it upon themselves and on their shoulders to push the university to be better. Among the student activism movements that I would single out for particular emphasis are the work of students a few years ago to reorient the conversation about commemoration on campus. This was the work of African American and Afro-Caribbean students, and the current activism of students advocating for an overhaul to the university's Title IX structure. Both groups and the many, many communities of allies that have supported them are, I think, representative of what the very best of Princeton is.
Eating clubs like the one that I was in. My club was full of international students, technically like me, LGBT students, stoners most of all, and just really free spirit type of folks. And there was a wide variety of people in my club. You actually found a pretty wide variety of people at Princeton. This kid seems like he allowed himself to get sucked into one particular track.
It seemed like he was blaming the institution. You know, I hated going to Princeton. Princeton turned me into a weasel, right? A social climbing weasel. I would not necessarily agree that the Princeton did that.
This idea that you go to Princeton and you're sort of doomed to end up in one of these soul-crushing occupations really doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't give credit to students there who go on to do really great things in a lot of different areas. And so I really just wanted to drive home the point that, you know, there is no one Princeton experience. There are a lot of different Princeton experiences, and what kind of experience one has really depends on what approach one takes. Princeton really is what you make of it.